Good afternoon, this is Robin Bieber on the European Midday Roundup and Good Morning America chart talk on the 15th of May at 12 o'clock in the morning London time. And the chart in front of you is July 60-minute, and you can see the recovery that started early yesterday and as it neared the 13 but did not hit the 13-day moving average, and followed through with moves and closes last night over the 5 and 8s, which have given us the intraday targets higher to where we are now. In other words, a test at the upper end of the range. The contracts have all done what they should have done to the upside, and now the jury's out on whether we've got further upside, a correction back lower a bit, which we were doing at the moment, hold and then rally again. So if we just look at this 60-minute chart here, you can see this is at the highs, the stochastic is flagging a correction back, which is what we're doing now. Now the highlights to bear in mind for this morning are follow through from the 5 and 8s, the good closes last night over the 5 and 8s. We're following through. The stochastics are positive on all but RBOB, which might be a little bit of a worry. We're over all the 2016 lows, but there is an element of a bit too much too soon about this morning's action. So let's have a look at it. And here's RBOB, a 60-minute, and you can see nice spiky move up following this momentum from the unshaded area, yesterday's action, to the shaded area and following on higher. Now, if we look at the daily charts, we can see exactly what I mean by maybe it's done enough in the short term. That is not necessarily to express a bearish view. It is merely meant to say that both flat price and structure have done what they should have done from yesterday's hold. Now, WTI is in technically a different place. It never got below the 5 and 8s and has held it for 4 or 5 days in a row. It looked always as if it would run up to the 55 day at 27.07 and then the CP at 28.36. That's enough. It's done what it should have done to get to the first CP. If it moves and closes over, and this is June WTI, if it moves and closes over the first CP at 28.36, there's further targets higher, but we'll be looking at July WTI on Monday for that. But 28.36 is a pivot over there, and we're running up to as potentially as high as 33.15. Stochastic's getting a little bit high. Now Brent, and here you can see what I was talking about yesterday, neared the 13-day moving average, took off when products held their 13-day moving averages, and that was the key to yesterday morning's action over the 5 and 8s last night, thereby green-lighting a move back to the top of the range at 32.27. We've made a high at 32.50 and we're now 31.41. In other words, we're giving back some of the gains. As long as the 5 and 8s hold, there's nothing wrong with this, but there are no targets higher until we at least get over 32.27 and preferably over 32.83, the 55-day moving average. Now, heating oil has also done everything that was expected of it. Held the 13 beautifully yesterday, rallied up over the 5, testing the 34-day moving average, and now it needs to move and close, having tested the intraday target at 91.99. It must move and close over here to give it another pop higher to 93.03. No further upside unless above 91.99. Now look at this high. It's important. It's just as important, the 32.27 high on Brent and the 28.36 high on, or correction point target, on the WTI. So everything is hitting targets and resistances that it should. RBOB, curiously enough, is not. So long as it stays over 92.04, the first line continuation correction point, everything is fine, and we're looking for slightly higher numbers, but we need the rest of the contracts above their key resistances, which we've just talked about. RBOB could easily get up to 98.20, but it's going to need help from the rest to do that. Gas oil, perfect slingshot move from holding the 13 yesterday, over the 5 and 8s last night, good close, now up to the 34 day at 268.75, which it breached and has now hit 276.50. Actually, it's hit 276. No further action, or no, rather, no further targets higher unless it gets over, moves and closes over 276.50. So consistency is across the board here. Every single contract has rallied up to a critical zone, less so RBOB, but 4 of the 5 have run up to their key resistance intraday targets: 28.36 TI, 32.27 Brent, 91.99 heat, and 276.50 gas oil. We now need moves and closes over those levels for further targets higher. All we've done is completed a springboard move from the short term, the 5 and 8s, the short term moving averages, up to range resistance. We now need something more to punch us higher for next week. And the 60-minute charts are suggesting a correction back a little bit during the early part of the afternoon. And if we look at structure, and I'm looking now at July, August on the left, WTI, it's hit its target at minus 65, and it's got a high at 57 to navigate first. But this is consistent with the flat price. It needs to move over minus 57 to have a target to the gap at minus 31. It's an unfilled gap. So it's done enough so far. And the AUG SEP should run up to minus 52, but it's going to need some encouragement from the July AUG. And if we look at the same spreads on Brent, Brent has hit its target on July AUG to minus 40, the gap fill, that's it. Unless it closes over minus 40, no targets, further targets higher, and the target higher would be on a moving close over minus 40 up to probably plus 19. And on the AUG SEP, it's hit its target to the 100-day moving average at minus 51. Over there, and it's got resistance at minus 45. So 51.45 was the target. It still will probably close the gap at minus 38, but it might not be this afternoon. And if we look at some back-end structure, WTI DEC red DEC hit its target to the 55-day, now pulling back a bit, still got a negative stochastic, and the 60-minute chart on the left here is suggesting some downside over the next 2 or 3 hours. Same with DEC red DEC Brent, hit its target to the 55-day at 417, actually the high of today. All right, whilst it's above the 5 and 8s at 459 to 449, 449 to 459, but it's done everything that was expected of it. Now wait and see what happens, and the 60-minute chart on both the DEC red DECs, TI and Brent, is suggesting lower numbers. That's all for today, folks. Good luck, good trading, and bon weekend.